Alright, this is our last video for the epithelial tissues. We're going to go over these three tissues right here. And please make a note, and this is my mistake and not your professor's, it should be keratinized stratified squamous epithelium and non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. That's my mistake. And then we're going to go over transitional epithelium at the end. We've already gone over what squamous means. It's flat. Stratified means there's several layers. And then we're going to go over keratinized versus non-keratinized. This right here is your keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Notice it does have big layers from here to here and here to here, right? You can see layers, but those aren't the actual layers we're talking about right now. What we're talking about are the layers that get closer. So if you'll notice all the way down here, right, you see this, all of these guys. And notice they're kind of rangy in how their cell membranes look, okay? Notice they get less clear as they move towards the apical side, right? Less and less clear, and that's because the cells themselves are dying. This is an avascular tissue, right? And as they push further and further this way, they become less and less, well, alive. They become dead until they hit the actual keratinized section right here, in which the nuclei have actually completely disappeared, but there's still several layers of those dead cells there, okay? So this actually breaks up into several different layers. The layer that's keratinized, all the way up here at the top, this is our stratum corneum. Then we have this thin single cell layer right here, this dark layer that sits on top of the pink. That's our stratum granulosum. Then this huge section right here that's lots of layers. This is our stratum spinosum. And then another single cell layer right here down at the bottom towards the basal side. And this is the stratum basal. There is one other stratum that you will see in thick skin that we will go over later, and that is the stratum lucidum. The stratum lucidum can be found right here in between the granulosum and the corneum. It's easier to see when you pull all the way out. See it right here. Stratum lucidum. That thin, lighter layer. It's hard to differentiate when we get this close. It's one of the few things that you can see better from further away. So that'd be our fifth layer, the stratum lucidum. You should probably know these stratum for your test. Here's the main difference in between the keratinized, which remember is this dead section up here, and non-keratinized. Our non-keratinized, here, 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 I'm going to come all the way down here. These are the dead cells, but notice they're no longer attached. So our actual final layer up here, notice it still has all these dark little dots right here, which are actually still nuclei. So while the skin is dying, right, the first layer of tissue, they're still alive. And this one, you don't have to break into the different layers. This is just the non-keratinized stratified because you see several different cell layers of those stratified squamous, right? Going this way. You do still need to know that this is the basal side, and this is the apical side that faces the lumen, right? Right below that, and you'll see that on both of these, you'll see there are other tissues down here. And we're going to go over those in our next series of connective tissues. But just to point out, you do see other tissues on this slide, so be careful what you zoom in on later, okay? So we're coming down. We've looked at these two, right? Keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, and our final one, which is transitional epithelium. All these dots make it look like it's very similar to our non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. This little star or snowflake center reminds us of another tissue, right? It reminds us of our ciliated simple columnar epithelium. Here's the difference between both. So it has the lumen right here in the middle that's like a star. But notice it doesn't have the columnar. It has, we're not sure what shape. It looks a lot more similar to the stratified squamous. And that's because as this guy is actually designed to stretch. You'll find this mostly in your ureters and your bladder. And it's designed as it fills to stretch. And as it stretches, this shape over here is actually going to change, which is why it's transitional. So the difference between it and the ciliated simple columnar epithelium is in the shape of these individual cells. The difference in between the stratified, non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium in this has more to do with this guy's ability to stretch and change its shape. Again, you'll see here one arm of that snowflake or lumen, and he is going to, as he fills with urine, he's going to push out and fill, and it's going to change the shape.